So have you ever wondered why pro guitarists can play something as simple as, say, maybe a pentatonic scale, and you play the exact same thing and it doesn't sound nearly as cool? And in theory, you're playing the same notes, so it doesn't really make sense. Let me give you an example, just playing up a minor pentatonic scale. And then when you play it, it might sound something like this. Now if you've got a keen eye, you might have caught the difference between the two there. And what it is these flying fingers. All this wasted range of motion with your fingers. It affects your timing, it affects your ability to let notes run into each other or like be linked together nicely. And it actually limits your speed a lot. You're not going to be able to play guitar fast if you have these flying fingers. I'll play again and you'll see what I mean. If I play with good technique, or if I play with these flying fingers. This is one of the most common things I see in beginner and intermediate guitarists holding them back. So in this video, I'm going to give you 4 drills that you can practice to break this habit, and it'll make your guitar playing a lot more efficient. You'll be able to develop speed better. Your notes will link together nicer rather than sounding very staccato. Again, like that. Right, it's not a nice sound. Now the first thing we're going to look at is actually the anatomy and the setup of your wrist, your elbow, forearm, all these kind of things. Because if you get this wrong, you have no chance of being able to do all this properly. So the first thing that's very important is that your wrist and your forearm are pretty much in a straight line. Okay, you'll see when I play, my forearm and wrist are lined up. A very common problem is people having their hand or their wrist bent sideways like this when they're playing. Okay, this is not going to allow you to, first of all, be able to reach very far on the fretboard, and it's also just going to put a lot of strain on your wrist and hand. Okay, so try get that wrist nice and straight and in line with your forearm. Now in terms of what your thumb should be doing, it should be behind the neck, and it should be roughly behind your middle finger or in line with it. You don't have to be too strict about it, it can be like either side of it, but as a general rule, that's a good place to start. So something like this. A common problem is having your thumb way out to the side like this, or having your thumb off the fretboard completely. That's another one I see a bit. So try have your thumb behind the neck, roughly behind your middle finger. Now in terms of your elbow, you want it to be tucked in a bit and below your wrist. You'll see the point of my elbow is below my wrist when I'm playing. I don't want my elbow up like this. That makes it very uncomfortable. And as well as that, I don't want my elbow way out this way. That's going to make things very difficult too. So your elbow should just be in a position which allows your shoulder to be relaxed and just kind of hanging there and a bit below where your wrist is. And one more thing that can help is your guitar angle. If you try have your guitar like flat to your body, you can find your hand gets a bit cramped and your elbow gets a bit cramped. So something I like to do and a lot of people do is just angle your guitar out a bit to like a 30-degree angle roughly. So experiment with that a bit too. You can change the angle a bit to see what suits your anatomy, but just make sure you're not too cramped. Alright, let's get into the first of the 4 drills to actually address these problems and put it into practice. And there'll be a free PDF to download. The link will be in the description. It's just on my website. So you might want to get that if you want to play along or save it for later when you're practicing. So this first drill is probably something you've played a million times before, or maybe not. It's just the 1, 2, 3, 4 crawl using all 4 of our fingers. So what we're going to do is first of all check our posture, check our wrist is in line with our forearm, check our thumbs on the back of the neck in a nice spot, check our elbows relaxed and not too far out or not cramped like this. We're in a nice relaxed position. And the first thing we're going to do is just play the 5th fret on the low E. Then while keeping that first finger there, this is very important, we keep that first finger right where it is, we're going to play the 6th fret, okay, with our middle finger right next to it. Then while keeping that down, we're going to play the 7th fret, and then with our pinky, we're going to play the 8th fret. And again, you can see that I'm leaving all my fingers pushed down while I'm doing this. Okay, if I have my thumb off to the side or my wrist up, and I try to do that, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to stretch that far. So I've got my posture right, and this allows me to stretch my hand out. Cool, and then we just move on to the next string, doing the same thing. Keeping my fingers pushed down, and as well as that, when I'm not using my fingers, I'm trying to keep them nice and close to the fretboard. Okay, I'm not having them up like this, and then bringing them down. Okay, they're nice and close. Okay, then we just continue that up all the strings. Keeping my fingers pushed down for every single string. Cool, pretty straightforward. If you're struggling with it, one thing you can try do is go higher on the fretboard. So you could perhaps try it starting on the 8th fret. Same thing. Keeping my fingers pushed down, just 1, 2, 3, 4 on every string. And you might find your hand starts to hurt a little bit. This is just because it's a new thing you're trying and you will get used to it. So you might just need to shake out your hand a bit every couple of minutes to keep it fresh. But that's the first drill, so you can just put on a timer for 5 or so minutes and have a go at doing that. The next drill is a bit harder. We're going to call it the anchor and reach. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the 12th fret on the D string with our first finger. And then what we're going to do is keep that first finger on that 12th fret, and with our middle finger play 14 on the next string, so the G. Then our third finger is going to play 15 on the G, and then our pinky is going to play 16. Okay, still while holding that first finger over that 12th fret. So I go 12, 14, 15, 16, 12, 14, 15, 16. Now this one you're really going to have to make sure your posture's right, or you're not going to be able to stretch over those frets. And then what we do, once you get used to that, is we just take it down a fret. So now 11, 13, 14, 15, 10, 12, 13, 14. You'll see I'm holding my first finger exactly where it should be, just on that D string. Then I'm 9, 11, 12, 13, 8, 10, 11, 12, 7, 9, 10, 11, 6, 8, 9, 10, 5, 7, 8, 9. And I'd probably stop it around that 5th fret, but you can go lower if you want. So if I go back to the beginning of that, what we don't want to do is play that 12, then lift that first finger off to play the 14, then lift that off to play the 15, then that. This is what we don't want to do. Okay, we're trying to keep it all pushed down. Now the third drill is just using different pairs of fingers. So a really good way to practice this is using pattern 2 of the pentatonic scale. If you don't know that, it's okay. Again, the tab's in the description, you can just look at that. But what we're going to do is play the 8th fret with our middle finger, and then the 10th fret with our pinky. Okay, so 8, 10, and then we're going to go to the A string using our first finger, playing 7, 10, and again, I'm always leaving this first finger on the string pushed down. Then I play the 10 with my pinky, then on the next string, 7, holding it down, playing the 10, then next string, 7, holding it down, playing the 9 with my third finger now. So instead of 7, 10, we go 7, 9. And now I'm going to use my middle finger, second finger to play the 8 on the B string, then pinky to play the 10, and then same thing on the next string. Okay, so we're like alternating between different pairs of fingers, and you're trying to keep everything close to the fretboard and the first note on each string pushed down for the entirety of the scale. So if I go through that a bit faster, 8 with the middle, 10 with the pinky, 7 with the first finger, 10 with the pinky, 7 first finger, 10 pinky, 7 first finger, 9 third finger, middle finger on the 8, pinky on the 10, middle finger on the 8, pinky on the 10. Bit faster. Right, what I'm not doing is this. Right, I'm not lifting my fingers up after every time I play a note or between them. Now the last exercise, very similar to the first, but we're just going to be descending, going backwards. Okay, and people tend to find this a lot harder, so that's why I left it to last. So we're going to start with all 4 of our fingers pushed down on the high E string. Okay, and we're going to have our first finger on the 5th fret, our middle on the 6th, our third finger on the 7th, and our pinky on the 8. And we're just going to pick backwards, okay? So I've got all my fingers pushed down. I'm going to play the 8th fret. I'm going to lift that finger off, just my pinky. Play the 7, lift that finger off. Play the 6 with my middle, lift that finger off, and play the 5. And you'll notice when I went down, my fingers aren't going too far from the fretboard. Okay, I'm not going like this. Right? Making my fingers go way far away. So we do that, trying to keep it nice and close. Then we move to the next string. So I use my pinky to play the 8 on the B string, and you'll notice when I do that, I set up my other fingers behind it again. Okay, I'm not just pushing with that pinky and then going like this to go down. I'm going from that 5th fret on the high E, then I jump down to that 8, and I've already got my fingers on each of those frets behind it. So then I just lift off like before, and then again, all my fingers push down at once. And I just continue that down the strings. Like that. And again, you can try this on different places on the guitar. Maybe I go up to the 8th fret, work back from there. Now remember, when you're doing all these drills, you have to try catch yourself out if you're doing the technique wrong or if you're not set up correctly. Otherwise, you're just ingraining wrong muscle memory and practicing the wrong thing. So some common pitfalls are having your thumb too far over the neck. Okay, for this kind of playing, we want to have it behind the neck, roughly in line with your middle finger, but it can vary a little bit. We also don't want to have our wrist up like this. Okay, we want to have our wrist pretty neutral. And as well as that, we have our wrist in line with our forearm, okay, not off to the side like this. And try as well to keep your shoulder relaxed, which is actually determined a lot by your elbow angle, right? If my elbow's out like this, my shoulder is actually very tense. So I just keep it in a nice relaxed position. It's kind of leaning against my belly, if anything. And this allows my hand to be a lot more relaxed and play more freely. So hopefully that was helpful and gives you something to practice. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. If anything's not working for you, I can try help you troubleshoot. I also have a blog post on my website going into this, so you can check that out, as well as the free tab, which was also there available to download. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.